Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. I know you guys don't know me. I want to introduce myself. My name is Benaya Kadosh, and I'm just basically here. Wanted to share some information with you guys, talk a little bit about what I do, a little bit of what I have a passion in. I love traveling, trying new things, going to different restaurants. But this video is mainly talking about what I do full time. I am a full-time barber. And to the guys out there who are barbers, who've been cutting for as long as I've been cutting, I've been cutting for about 20 years now. But for the ones who, this video is mainly for the ones who are like in the middle, the ones who are, working at different shops. They may not have a clientele, or they have a clientele, but it's kind of a questionable clientele. This video is for you guys. The main thing I want to cover is I want to talk about, first I want to talk about the barber game. Now it depends on what shop you're in. Now if you're in a shop where it is a very busy shop, the shop is very busy, there's a lot of customers, a lot of traffic coming in and everything, you can't just come in off the street and just try to get a haircut. You have to set up an appointment. Those shops are pretty much ran a certain type of way. Those shops, you have to set up an appointment, so you don't have a lot of chair hoppers. And I want to talk about chair hoppers for a minute. Chair hoppers is a barber's worst nightmare. No barber really likes people that, don't have one specific barber. They like to hop around from chair to chair. They might have a guy that, they like or whatever in the shop, but he might be busy, so he goes to this guy, and then okay, he go to that person, or he go to that person, or whatever the case may be. There's chair hoppers, and that's what it's like in the barber industry. So the main thing about when you're dealing with chair hoppers, if you have someone, because a lot of times chair hoppers, they don't respect the craft. That's number one. They don't respect the craft. Because if they respect the craft, they would always try to set up an appointment. They'll try to talk to their barber and everything like that. But if you don't respect the craft, then you're like, I have to be at work at 3, so I'm coming in the barber shop at about 1:15, trying to see whoever's available so I can get in and get out. And a lot of times, especially when it's cold out, the barber, because I'm from Chicago, so, the barber shops are usually very, very slow. It's not a lot of money to be made when it's cold out. So a lot of chair hoppers, they'll come in and they don't have no time. They don't plan their schedule right. So when they come in, they're just looking to just get in and get out. So whatever chair is available, they're looking to hop in it. So let's say, for instance, you're a person who you don't really have a clientele like that. You're doing a haircut, and you got a person that's been rocking with you who's a faithful client, but at the same time, you got a chair hopper who wants you to do their hair, and sometimes, because I found myself doing it as well. I try to kind of speed up a little bit just so I can get the money. But at the end of the day, you're not giving out quality service. So the main thing is I can tell you is if you have someone who is faithful to you, a faithful client, is a difference between a faithful client and a customer. I don't call a person a client until I've serviced them at least 5 times consecutively. They call me ahead of time, they set up an appointment with me, and I service them at least 5 times, then I'll call you a client. A customer is pretty much a chair hopper, someone who is the customer to that shop. Whatever chair is available, they're sitting in it. That's a customer. So don't get emotional if you have a customer sitting in your chair, you give them your business card, they never call you, they're just coming back to the shop looking for the next cut, whoever's available. So don't get emotional over that. You got to let your work speak for itself. But anyway, I want to talk about the subject of chair hoppers. So you're doing a haircut, you got someone who's a faithful client sitting in your chair, and you're trying to cut their hair, and you're just like, I got this chair hopper that's constantly huffing and puffing, looking at the time, making all these different expressions about how they gotta go. And you're just like, I gotta speed up a little bit, rushing, just so you can kind of get the money, satisfy them, and also, get the money in your pocket. You can't think like that. Like I said, chair hoppers, they don't respect the craft. They don't respect barbering, they don't respect the craft, and that's basically how that is. So if you're in a situation and you're dealing with a chair hopper, you got to just take it as it's just a one-time service. Maybe I'll see them, maybe I'm not. You got to be very, very, very thick-skinned in the barber game. You got to be very thick-skinned. You got to be able, because barbers talk about one another, and you got to be able to just take those jokes. You got to be able to take those chair hoppers. You know, you take it with a grain of salt. You can't have your emotions on your sleeve. You can't do that. You got to just, you know, be very, very thick-skinned. You have to be that way. That's one of the things I wanted to talk about. Another thing I want to talk about and I want to cover, cordless clippers. Corded clippers versus cordless clippers. Now, I know in the past, I would say 5 years, cordless clippers has been very popular. A lot of these clipper companies have been making millions off of, you know, people that are clipper heads, you know, and I found myself being a clipper head, you know, buying the latest clipper and everything like that. I want to talk about corded clippers versus cordless clippers. Which one is better? My answer, both of them are great, but which one is better? The main thing is it depends on your money flow, your budget, how much clientele you have. If you are a beginning barber, okay, you're not making a lot of money because you're new at the barbering industry. So you can't just go and spend $250 for a pair of cordless masters, or, you know, $125 for a pair of cordless T outliner and its T outliners. You can't do that because, you know, you're spending all of this money and you're hoping that the clipper will make the money right back, will pay itself off. But at the end of the day, you're missing out because, you know, you don't have a clientele like that. You know, cordless clippers are really made for those barbers who have a big clientele. You know, they have a lot, you know, they don't have time to untangle the cord and turn back around. They have you know, they're trying to get people in and out, and they don't have time to be dealing with tangled up cords. If you are a beginning barber, once you finish doing a haircut, then you have time to untangle the cord, you know, straighten it out, you know, dust off the chair. And, you know, maybe if you see another walk-in come in, or if you got another person set up and lined up, you can, you know, go ahead and get to them. My main thing is about cordless clippers versus corded clippers. Which one is better? I want to talk about first the cordless clippers, the pros and the cons to me about cordless clippers. Okay, a pro about a cordless clipper is the fact that you can cut children hair easily. You know, you can spin the chair around. You know, if they're not holding their head still, they're constantly moving or whatever, you have access to kind of maneuver around it when you're cutting with a cordless clipper, as opposed to a corded clipper where you have a cord and the child is kind of, sometimes they might pull on the cord and yank at the cord, or sometimes, you know, the cord might get tangled up on the side of the chair because you're twisting them trying to hold their head still, and it gets tangled up on the side of the chair. So that's the pro about having a cordless clipper. Another pro is if you're the type of barber that does house calls. If you're the type of barber that does house calls, a cordless clipper is very ideal, because a lot of times when you're doing a house call, it's bad lighting. You know, the person will, if they do have an outlet, it's probably in an area of where it's dim lighting. So it's kind of like you got to have a long extension cord, and it's a drag. So a cordless clipper is great. And then sometimes, because this happened to me before doing a house call, the power went out at the person's house. So I had to literally go old school and, you know, bust out that water bottle and that razor guard to try to finish the cut. So that's why I would say, you know, cordless clippers, you know, they definitely come in handy when it comes to you're cutting children, when you're doing when you're cutting children and when you're doing house calls. They definitely come in handy. But the cons I would say about a cordless clipper is, for instance, if a lot of cordless clippers, once you get past, I would say year 2, you know, the battery start, you know, wearing off, the power may not, and sometimes it could just be year 1. The power is not as good anymore as it was when you first bought them. Not only that, with cordless clippers, some cordless clippers, they're not as powerful as a corded clipper. So if let's say you're dealing with very, very coarse hair, it's not going to be able to go through that coarse hair like that. You know, you got to constantly just take extra steps of trimming that coarse hair down, then using the clipper to go over it. So it becomes more work on you. Another kind I would say, the price. I mean, the price. If you look at a pair of corded Andis Masters and a pair of cordless Andis Masters, the typical price right now for a pair of cordless Andis Masters are about $250. If you're lucky, you might get them for $225. And a pair of corded Andis Masters usually are about $90. You can get lucky and get them for $70, brand new. You know, I tend to shop around, you know. And another thing is I fix clippers, so I tend to shop around. But at the same time, if you was to spend $250 for a pair of cordless Masters, you know, that's a big hole in your wallet if you're a beginning barber. Because if you're a beginning barber, you're not going to have that type of money. So if, let's say you want your whole lineup to be cordless. You have a cordless T outliner. Okay, that's $125. Well, let's just say $120. You pay $120 for a cordless T outliner. You pay $250 for a pair of cordless Masters. Okay, now you have to have a pair of detachable blades. Let's say you get the Super ZRs, the Andis Super ZRs. Those are about $250. So, you know, you're in the ballpark of about almost $700 right there alone. But then that's, you know, you need another pair of clippers. You need another pair of outliners. Because usually you can't just have one pair of outliners. You got to get another pair of outliners. And a lot of barbers, they tend to have two of everything. So you're looking at close to $2,000 that you're spending on clippers alone. You know, and that's a big hole in your wallet. You know, and the way these clipper companies, they're coming out like the newest iPhone or the newest Jordans that's dropping. Every time you turn around, especially Babeless, Babless, like they come out with new clippers every 6 months, sometimes every 4 months. They have a new clipper that's better than the one that was before, and that's better than that's better than that one. That's better than that one. And then you go out and you buy it, and the price is usually $150, $200. You know what I mean? I've seen some that was like $300. People would sell it, and then you go out, you spend that money, and you just get further and further and further and further in the hole. But if you are the type of barber who you have a heavy clientele, the clipper's going to pay itself off, then it's no problem. And you just enjoy having cordless clippers, then you don't have a problem with, okay, I've had this clipper for 2 years. Now I got to try to go get the motor replaced, or I got to go get the battery replaced. And, you know, to me personally, it's not worth it. I love I use both. I use cordless clippers and I use corded clippers. You know, at the shop, I use both. You know, when I'm doing house calls, I strictly use cordless because to me, cordless work to my advantage. So I'm using cordless clippers when I do house calls or when I'm cutting children. The two clippers that I have right here, for instance, this is a pair of cordless T outliners, okay? This is a pair of corded T outliners, okay? This is a magnetic motor. This is a rotary motor. Let's try the rotary motor. Well, this one's kind of dead. I got to charge it. I'm sorry. I have another pair. Like I said before, you got to have two. So this is my second pair. So this is the rotary motor. Okay. You hear the power. You know, these are very powerful. I have the GTX blade on them. This is a rotary motor, very powerful. And this is my magnetic motor. Okay, so the thing about when you're dealing with cordless clippers, sometimes they die out or whatever. Sometimes there can be a decrease in power. Sometimes, you know, it could be a decrease in power sometimes when you're using them or whatnot. With corded clippers, there's never no decrease in power. There's always going to be smooth power. You know, you have them plugged up to the electricity. There's always going to be smooth power all the way through. Corded clippers can last a lifetime. They literally can last a lifetime. Right here, I have a pair of Wall Seniors. These are old school Wall Seniors. These clippers were given to me by one of my clients. You know, this clipper is very, very old. I don't know how old they are, but if I was to give a guess, I would say they're from like maybe the 1970s, I would say, something like that. They're very, very old. You know, very powerful, and they still work. You know, they still work. Like I said, a pair of corded clippers can last a lifetime as opposed to a pair of cordless clippers. You know, they can possibly last a lifetime, but if you think about how much maintenance, how many parts you had to get replaced, to me, it's just not worth it. Because you spend, let's say, $200 for a clipper, and then after about, it depends on how many haircuts you do, within a year, you have to replace the motor, you know, or the battery, and then the next year you got to replace the motor or the battery, you know, and you constantly just spinning. With this, the only thing you have to really replace is the blade. You know, I had a pair of these that I still have since 2004, and I've never had to replace the motor on them or anything. Only thing I had to replace is the blade, because after a while, the blade gets dull and you have to replace them. But that's it. So it's really, I'm not knocking cordless clippers, but it's really all about your preference. Which one works for you? And that's my main thing that I wanted to cover. I'm a barber. I enjoy cutting hair. I enjoy giving people confidence. I enjoy changing a person's appearance. And the main thing, like I said, you let your work speak for itself. That's how you build clientele. You build clientele not off business cards. You build it off of word of mouth. You build it off of just being a great example. Because a lot of times, barbers don't like cutting children. Me personally, I have no issues with cutting children, because children is the future. You know, like you cut a child and he's 6 years old, he's going to remember you. And then next thing you know, 20 years later, he's still coming to you. Then he's bringing his son to you. And it's a cycle, and it's going on and on. So, as I said before, cutting hair is something that I enjoy doing. It's a craft. It's a skill. Everyone don't have that skill. No machine can take cutting hair away. And it's always going to be here. Cutting hair is always going to be here. You know, and all I can really say to those beginning barbers is have faith. You know, don't snatch and grab. Don't get frustrated. Don't give up if you know, because when you go to new shops, you're not going to have a lot of clientele. You're not going to have a lot of people sitting in your chair, especially if you don't have a clientele already that's established and you're just new, you know. It's a lot of things like I said, wanted to cover, but I don't want this video to be too long. I'm already at like almost 18 minutes. But it's just a lot of information that I want to give to just different barbers who are trying to get into, you know, the barber industry, and they're trying and they don't know what type of clipper should they get or whatnot. They don't know like what type of barbershop is right for them. Me personally, starting off, the best barbershop, if you're a beginning barber, go to a barbershop where they don't accept appointments. Those are the best barbershops, because a lot of times people are in a rush, they're in a hurry. Holidays come up, people wait till the last minute, they'll get their new suit, they'll get their new shoes, you know, they'll get everything they need, they'll get the car washed, you know, everything they need, but they don't have their haircut. So a lot of times they're coming into the barbershop, they're upset because it's crowded, and they'll just be like, you know what, I'll just try you out. You know, you don't have nobody sitting in your chair, I'll just try you out. And then you take your time, you do a good job, give them the business card. If they see you, great. If not, you can't worry about that. You can, like I said earlier in the video, you have to be thick-skinned. You know, you can't worry about that, and you just go on to the next one. And that's what I did. When I started off, I didn't have a clientele. You know, I didn't have any clients or anything. But I kept working hard at it, kept pushing myself, kept focused, and always try to learn. Another thing, in the barber industry, you have to be humble. You have to be humble. Like, I feel like though I've been cutting for about 20 years, there's some things that I want to touch up on and get better. I don't know everything, you know, so it could be a barber who's been cutting for 2 years. I feel that I can learn something from him, because he can give me a new system that can be better than the system that I'm doing. You know, you never know. So you can't just have pride and just say, well, I've got 20 to your 2 years, so I'm a better barber than you, or it's nothing that you can possibly tell me that I don't already know. So you always have to stay humble in the barber world, and that's how you get better. That's how you grow. You know, you always want to, you know, reinvent yourself. You always want to, you know, get better. You never want to be that barber who is stuck in that same era, because barbering, the hair industry, is like technology. You know, like the same haircuts people was getting. Now you'll think, now it's 2020. Okay, let's just go back 5 years, 2015. And 2015 doesn't seem like a long time ago. 2015 just seems like yesterday. But do you know in technology how far behind 2015 really is in technology? The same thing with the hair industry. 2015 was a long time ago when it comes to the hair industry, when it comes to all of these new products that's being released. You know, there's a lot that's, you know, changing in the hair industry. So you have to constantly, like, I'm making this YouTube video. The same thing, I look on YouTube and I watch what other, you know, YouTube barbers post and everything. And I look at their technique and their skill when they cut, just so I can get better, so I can learn, so I can grow, so my clientele can grow. You know, I'm really hoping my channel can grow. And, you know, I just want everyone to, because I just want everybody to focus, everyone to stay humble and grow, you know, and compliment each other, man. Like a lot of barbers don't compliment each other. They don't say, okay, hey, that's a nice fade. That's a nice lineup. That's because they just feel like, I don't want to say, I'll say that when my client not around. Because if I say that, then that way, if my client sees me say that, then they'll just be like, well, you know, man, you know, that is a nice fade or whatever, you know what I mean? And then they'll end up sitting in their chair. So it's kind of like one of those type of things. You know, I'm not afraid to compliment, you know, my fellow barbers. Tell them, hey, that's a great job. That's a nice fade. That's a nice lineup. That's whatever. You know, you always want to compliment people because I'm sure you want to be complimented as well. You want that joy of being complimented as well. So that's the main thing I wanted to cover. I wanted to talk about the barber industry. I wanted to talk about beginning barbers, you know, chair hoppers, corded clippers, and cordless clippers. Just wanted to talk about that. I'm hoping that this video was very informative. Hope you guys hit the like button and also subscribe. And I will talk to you later. I'm going to try to stay active on this page. I'm going to try to post pictures, post videos of my work, and see what this YouTube platform take me. So you guys stay safe, stay blessed. Hope you guys have a great 2020, and thank you for watching this video.